What's going on, family, and welcome back to Driven by Purpose. This episode is near and dear to my heart. I will probably say that more than once during this time together, but this is my story. I really wanted to touch on, why I'm even here and what has driven me to find my purpose, what has driven me to be who I am today, and what has shaped my life. Everything that we have gone through, all the choices we've made, create who we are, create this person that you see before us, and not just the bad experiences or experiences that create walls or boundaries in our lives, but us learning and healing from those things. So when I say that the things that you've gone through shape who you are, yes, sometimes you can go through some bad things and hang on to that, so then you're a bitter, grumpy, unforgiving person that nobody wants to hang around. Or you go through those things, you find the gift, you find the lesson, and you learn to be the better version of yourself. And that is my hope for everybody. That is what I believe, the power of telling your story really embodies. And so to start this, I'm not going to go through all of the details. Again, I wrote a book. It has all the nitty gritty. It has some of the details. It has some of the background information and more of how I was feeling or what I was going through at the time. And so go check that out if you haven't read it yet. I'm pretty proud of it. And we're going to start by reading a poem that is in the book. And this really embodies my story. It really captures my heart and what I've gone through and the things that I believe. So we're going to read that real quick. It's called Symphony Behind the Shadows. In the depths of despair, a dad did dwell. His dreams once vibrant, now a somber shell. With empty pockets and questions profound, he wandered life's maze, searching for higher ground. Amidst the shadows, his purpose unclear, he questioned his role in this world so severe. With worries like mountains, his spirit did sag, yet he clung to his faith like a tattered flag. Through the darkest of nights he whispered his plea to the heavens above for guidance to see. With a heart heavy laden, burdened by strife, he sought God's direction to navigate life. In the quiet of dawn, a glimmer appeared, a purpose emerging, dispelling his fears. For God's light had shone through the depths of despair and revealed to this father a purpose to bear. With each trial he faced, his faith did persist, a flame in his soul through the darkest mist. In God's plan, he found meaning and worth. His purpose on earth, his reason for birth. Through hardships and struggles, he learned to believe that faith in the divine could help him achieve. In the end, he emerged stronger and whole, for with God as his guide, he discovered his role. So let his tale remind us, when troubles descend, that faith can be our anchor, our truest friend. When we seek out our purpose in God's loving grace, even in the hardest of times, we will find our place. I get goosebumps just reading that. That poem is actually about me. That was written by my son, Houston. Houston, I love you. You are amazing. You are talented. And that just really blessed me when he wrote that, specifically for the book. And I was just blown away. Just phenomenal. I love it. So that in and of itself just captures what the struggle that I have been through in my heart and my mind for a very, very long time. You see, I grew up in the church, the old school Assemblies of God when denominations ruled the world. And back then it was very, very much, the do's and don'ts, the rules of Christianity, the rules of being saved. And it tore me apart. I always felt like I was different. I am different. I am fully aware and grasping onto that with all of my might. I am different. I am okay with that. But back then, my difference was very much not okay. It was very much shunned by the church. It was looked down upon. And, we went to church a lot. Anytime the doors were open, I say it in the book, like we were there. And so at least 3 times a week, at least, right? Those are the bare minimums. But I grew up in church, and you know, it was one of those things when you grow up in church, you're very, okay, you know, this is what my mom believes. This is what the people around me believe. But I'm that guy that questions. And I'm like, is this really true? Is this really what this is all about? And I didn't appreciate, I didn't like, I didn't agree with the things that were being taught to me. But I had this inner drawing that I believed that this was real. I believed that this is where I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to do. And like God was calling me. I just didn't like what was being said, or that I didn't like what was being said that God was saying. So I had to find that faith. I had to find my faith on my own. I had to really draw near and question God, yell at God, get angry, really pour my heart out, my soul, and God found me. God showed me that those things are not the main thing. These rules and these things that split churches apart and new denominations were created and all of these things, like, God loves me. God loves you. And He has a plan and a purpose for your life and wants to make all things work out for your good and for His glory. I want to be a part of that. I want that power and love and grace to flow through my life and everything that I do. So I was all in. And this really happened, you know, when I was about a sophomore in high school. I grew up in Washington State, and my family moved to Daphne, Alabama when I was a sophomore in high school. We were only there for a couple months, but that's really when I found my faith. And we moved back to Washington State a few months later, and I was all in. You know, I believed it, and I wanted to be a person that could show the world that it wasn't about all these rules. It wasn't about, you know, you can't eat this or do this or get tattoos. And obviously I broke that a long time ago. It's not about that stuff. It's about a real relationship with the Creator. And so that is the faith that I found, and that is what I live by every single day. And that is what I strive to show in all of my words and all of my actions. And I have been blessed because of that. And it's not about being blessed, but it is about God's love shining through in our life. And so you bet you're going to be blessed. You bet you're going to have miracles happen in your life. And I just pray that for you. I pray that you find that. And so my story doesn't stop there, though, because I found this faith and I was still very much lost. I found this faith, but I was still searching for something. There was something missing in my life. And I was striving to find out where I fit. There was a lot of things that I struggled with growing up and going into my career. You know, when I was graduating high school, I very much, you know, I talk about it in the book that I put a lot of things onto my dad. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be heard. I wanted to be accepted as being different. And not saying my dad did anything wrong. He was just the one that I put everything onto. I have a great relationship with my dad. I love him to death. Dad, if you're watching this, I love you. You're awesome. But I was searching. I felt alone. And so when I was graduating high school, there was two options for me. And it was go in the military. My dad was in the military. My brother was in the military. Aunt was in the military. Other aunt was in the military. Grandpa was in the military. Lots of military. So it was either go into the military or go to Bible college. Because I really believed my faith. I really believed that I could make a difference. And I know that those are on complete opposite spectrums. And that's just how I live life. I'm very much opposite. I'm very much different. And so I did choose to go into the military. And that was a phenomenal time for me. And when I went into the military, I went in with the mentality that I was going to stay in. I was all in, going to do 20 years. I was going to retire. I got selected and tried out and all this stuff for Tactical Response Force, a team of guys and girls that was just, we were family. But we got to do a lot of cool stuff. I went to sniper school twice. I got hurt the first time. And I'll tell the story about sniper school because that really was the change to my career plan. I was a very good shot. And I'm saying very good. I mean very good. You could ask anybody on my team. I went to sniper school, and I got hurt the first time, and the second time I went by myself. And I'm not going to go into a ton of details, but sniper school is very much a partner thing. You have a spotter. As the shooter, you're not allowed to look through the scope. You can't do any of that stuff. You can't do the range estimation. During certain times of especially training, you rely on your spotter. My spotter that I got while I was there, the second time I went, had not been trained at all. So I was taking shots and I was like, he's not responding. He's not telling me my adjustments. He's not telling me where I hit. And so finally I had to look back and like, bro, where's my trace? Which is the path of the bullet, the air. Like you can see where you hit based off the trace. And he looks at me and goes, what's that? I was like, oh no, I'm doomed. So I did. I failed sniper school. And not by skill. Skill-wise, I mean, the instructors were upset. The other people in the class were upset. The rules of sniper school changed for the Air Force after that you had to go as a partner. There was training requirements prior to going because of this situation. But that really changed my direction. And I was depressed. I was bummed. I was so excited to have that sniper tab. I have them as a reminder of the things that I went through. But that really changed my direction. And so, of course, I was thinking, well, military or Bible college, so I'll become a pastor now. Like that was option B anyway, right? So I did. While I was still in the military, I was doing convoys in the helicopters, and I was studying my school to become a certified pastor. And so I became a pastor and went into the church world in that realm. Now, what I want to touch on is I got married. I got married very young. I was only at my base for about a month and a half before I got married. And I was married for about 19 years-ish, something like that, before we got divorced. So I'll touch a little bit on that, but we do have 3 boys, Hayden, Houston, and Hudson. They are rad, and they are amazing. And so during this time, I'm super young. I'm married. I've got a kid. By the time I got out of the military, we only had 1. And I now become a pastor. And I start going down this path, and there was a lot of just stuff in my life and struggles mentally on what was right and what am I doing, and even questioning my marriage, even questioning, is this really where I'm supposed to be? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? And it was a struggle for me. I had thoughts very early on if I should even get married, if I should even stay married, and all of these things. And none of that, and I'm telling my feelings and my experiences. I am not saying anything about my wife at the time, and that's her story to tell, and all of that. I'm talking mine, but I struggled, and I struggled, and I struggled. So I went through, being a pastor. I was a children's pastor. I was a youth pastor. I was an associate pastor. I was a youth pastor again. All of these things, and during that time, I was trying to find my place. I was trying to figure out where I fit in. And there were even thoughts about, am I only a pastor so that God will love me? It was like I found my faith. I know that God loved me, but I didn't believe it myself. I didn't believe that I was worthy of that love. I didn't feel like, because I was different, because I just felt this way about myself, I didn't believe that this God could love me. And that's why in the first episode, I talked that verse about being remarkably and wondrously made. Because that's Him talking about me, and that is something I have to remind myself about all the time. Just because I'm different, just because I'm unique, just because whatever, I am remarkably and wondrously made. And that is something I have had to hold on to. So this whole time, I really had self-worth issues, self-doubt. And failing sniper school was a huge blow to me. And that really wrecked me. So I went through this time, and I'm a pastor, and I'm believing that I'm doing this just so God will love me. Honestly, I'm being transparent. Like those are the thoughts that were going through my mind during these times. And from that point, and there was church hurt. We like to call it church hurt. churches hurt because they're full of people, and people suck sometimes. It is what it is. It's not the church. It's not God. It's people. And I was let down. I was cast away for things, and that really hurt me. And so I went down this path of just being hurt and not believing that I was enough, and not believing that anybody could love me, including my wife. And that was something that I had put on her from a very early time in our marriage. And that was something that was going on within me. So during this time, I started working at a normal job, which I never believed I was supposed to have a normal job. I never believed that was in the cards for me. I believed God had a plan and a purpose for my life that was way more abundant, way more impactful than just working a 9-to-5 job. And I'm not bashing a 9-to-5. I'm not saying that if you're a house dad or working a 9-to-5 or whatever it might be, that you don't have purpose, because you absolutely do. I'm saying these are the feelings that I had and that I struggled with for a very, very long time. So during this time, I start working at a retail store. I also start working at a Fortune 500 company, all of these things. And I was very successful at everything I did. And I'm not trying to gloat or anything like that. I am very good at speaking. I am very good at leading. That has been a passion of mine for a very long time. So I was very successful. And I was doing really well, and I was making good money. And during this time, I had a completely hidden life. I had completely hidden feelings. All of these feelings that I'm talking about right now, I never talked about. Nobody knew that I was going through this stuff. Nobody knew that I was thinking this stuff. And I started to act the way that I was feeling. I started to lie and cheat. And yes, I mean cheat on my wife. I did lots and lots of stupid things because of the way that I was feeling. And I'm not justifying any of this stuff. I'm not saying that what I did was okay or any of that. It was absolutely wrong. I'm just trying to explain to you the battle that was happening in my mind versus, who I was, who God said I was, and these feelings that I was having. I was searching. I was grasping. I was forcing. I was trying to find my way. And even in relationships, I was trying to find where I was supposed to be. So I talked about that I've been literally in like 12 different career paths. I did the sniper thing in the military. I was an amateur Muay Thai fighter. I owned a farm. I owned a gym. Amateur tattoo artist. The works. I did a lot of things. And I was trying to find my place. And that searching, that need, that want, that desire, that empty void, I was trying desperately, forcing to fill it. And that included with even who I was with, even my relationships. I was trying to force it. I was trying to find that sweet spot. I was trying to find where I was supposed to be. And I was searching in all the wrong areas. That, my friends, is my life. It has been a struggle, a battle in my mind, in my heart for a long time. And I share this story, and again, there's lots more detail in the book, but I share this story because I know that people are searching. Our world is full of people searching for their place, wanting to belong, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be loved. And that it is our responsibility to share our stories just like this, because other people are going through it. Other people are striving and struggling, and we can help them. We can also help them by loving them, by accepting them no matter what. And that is our responsibility, to love one another, because that is what Jesus commanded us to do. That is the main thing, keeping it the main thing. Love one another. Now, I know I strayed away from the story a little bit there, but when I was going through all this, there was people surrounding me, and I kept them at arm's length. That's why it's important to have an inner circle. That's why it's important to have people who will stand by you, who will pray with you, who will guide you and even call you out on your crap, because that's what I needed, but I didn't allow anybody in. So what this caused me to do, I've been called a narcissist, I've been called all these things, and for good reason. My actions back then were very much indicative of that. That's what I was speaking. That is what I was showing. And the reason I was doing that stuff, that, I was manipulating to keep my facade of a story out there. Think of it like, Instagram and these highlight reels. Like, that's what I was trying to keep up front, so nobody knew the struggles that I was having back here. And that's why it's important that, we talked about the voices last time, that you see these highlight reels, you need to know that there's pain and there's struggle and there's hurt and there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that you don't know about. So don't try to strive for their highlight reel. You need to strive to address the hurt, the betrayal, the feelings, the striving, the emptiness inside of you. And the only way to do that is through God. And yes, I had a relationship with God, but it was very superficial. I didn't lean on Him. I used my faith as a crutch. I said, well, I made a stupid decision, but God will fix it. God will come through for me. He still loves me, which He does. But every relationship is both people. You have to step out in faith. You have to do the work. You have to choose what's right over what's wrong. You have to obey. I need you to obey. And that is where your life will take a turn. So when I started to actually obey and stop using my faith as a crutch, but my shield to keep me from these things, to keep me from these actions, to change my life, to transform my life, to fill my life, that's when things really began to change in my life. And yes, it required a shipwreck. My life completely fell apart because of the actions that I did. It was awful. And yes, we got divorced, and that was starting at rock bottom, starting completely over. And I had to sit in that and know that this is what I did. My actions caused this. And that's what I wanted to switch into. I know that, we're talking my story and the struggles that I had, but I also want to touch on in relationships. And again, I'm not talking about the other person in my relationship and things that happened or what may have caused or any excuses that I had to do the things that I did. Because I will not make any excuses. I am telling you what I did and the feelings that I was having at the time, and even the reasons I justified it. Those justifications were garbage, because nothing deserved me to go do those actions. Nothing made me go do those. Those were my choices. All right? Now, in relationships, it's a struggle. Relationships are hard, especially if you're in something that you are. If you were in a relationship with me, we'll go there, okay? Because that'll be fun. So let's talk a little bit about the relationship side of this. You can believe the best in somebody. You can be completely patient and kind, but here's the deal. And believe what's best for them. You can believe who they're going to be. You can believe that God has called them to something greater. And that's awesome. You absolutely should believe that. But here's the thing. Just like we talked last time, you have to choose this. You have to choose to obey. God knows when you will, or if you will. But you, as the other person in that relationship, you have no idea if or when they will ever make that choice. So it is not your responsibility to stay. It is not your responsibility to be devalued, to be disrespected, to have the person completely walk all over you. That is not where you are supposed to be. If they're being downright mean to you, then you do not need to keep them in your life. Again, we were married for 19 years. She did not need to keep me in her life that long. Hands down, full transparency, should have got rid of me a long time ago. Because that's who I was being. She didn't know if I was ever going to change. And sometimes it does require a shipwreck, a rock bottom, to catapult you to change. You don't owe them anything. I know that that's hard. I know it sounds heartless, but you owe yourself everything. Now this topic is so near and dear to my heart. I told you I was going to say it again. Because I was that person, and I know the hurt and the damage that this causes firsthand. Because I did it. I know what it does, and I don't want that for you. Now, you don't have to completely cut these people out. Now, there are cases that you absolutely need to, but you don't have to. But they don't get the same access or the same energy from you because of the situation that they created. Hear me. They don't get that access to you anymore. Now, in this, talking both sides, because relationships are hard and it does take two. Both people got to show up 100%. Both people have to show up 100%. But when things like this happen, and it could be even smaller, it could be just an argument, a disagreement, whatever it might be, both sides need to look within to find the lesson. Both sides need to look within to find the lesson. Don't blame the other person. Don't blame the other person, but find out how you, in that situation, could have been better. How you could have been better. Whether you got super angry, whether you got out of control, whether you pushed the other person without knowing it or knowing it, like you purposely did it, right? Whether you got angry, out of control, all that stuff, or even if you were super patient and kind and allowed yourself to just be walked all over. You could have seen the red flags early and you didn't trust your intuition. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a gift and there's a lesson in every situation that we go through, especially in relationships. You know, if it's that last one, if you're like, shoot, I did see those red flags. I just didn't listen to myself. That is the lesson to be learned. So that the next time, the next relationship, the next situation where you feel that way, you're going to trust yourself more. You're going to know, no, that's not for me. I need to stay away from that. And that could be in business. That could be in partnerships, in companies, whatever it might be. If you're getting those feelings, stay away. There's a reason you're getting those feelings. Trust yourself. In all of these situations, become a better, wiser version of yourself. That is the goal. That is the gift. That is the lesson. Become the whole and remarkably and wondrously made person that God created you to be. All of these situations, especially in relationships, they allow us to learn. They allow us to get better. And I just want to encourage you today that through my story, if you're struggling, reach out to somebody. Get an inner circle that cares for you, that prays with you, that uplifts you, that keeps you accountable. There is power in accountability. If you are doing wrong, let somebody know so they can help you. Don't stay silent. Don't hide it. Don't stay in the shadows. Come to the light. Let somebody know. Let somebody help you. Reach out to me. I will help you. I will guide you. I will walk with you. I will be there for you. Because I don't want it to take a shipwreck for you to hit rock bottom to have to change your life. You can make the choice right now to follow this voice, to follow God's voice, to get out of these situations, to atone, and I don't mean atone as in doing all these things to make up for, but you do need to ask for forgiveness. You do need to come clean, and you need to be prepared to do whatever it takes to get back to where you want to be and where God is calling you to be. I love you guys so much. Go check out my book, Driven by Purpose. It's on Amazon. The link's in my bios and all that fun stuff. I love you guys so much. Reach out if you need help. That's all I got for today, and I will see you next time on Driven by Purpose.